The plight of female actors in theater has not been an easy one. Despite the start of theater almost 2 millennia ago in ancient Greece, women were not even allowed near the stage until the 16th century with the arrival of the opera. But here in the Bahamas, women got their start a bit later.
This is something that has been contested around the world throughout time, right? Like, women have not been encouraged to perform on stage in many cases up until the 20th century. But women have often performed on stage. During Shakespeare's time, women were not permitted to perform on stage, but really shortly after he died, they were.
The Commonwealth of the Bahamas has thrived on cultural traditions since the beginning. Our traditions, such as our folklore, old tales, and storytelling, is described as being one of the largest throughout the Caribbean countries. Our culture is who we are.
On the one hand, culture is a thing that gives us the meaning. It's a collective understanding of who we are in a specific place and time, and it's often unconscious and not concrete, right? So that is the culture that determines who we are and how we behave and so on. But there's another kind of culture, which is our conscious interpretation of that, and that is often what you see in artistic works like books and plays and art. That is our portrayal of who we are and our expression of who we are and who we would like to be in different art forms.
Culture, of course, deals with who we are, the core or the essence of who we are as a people. And so for me, that's anything that makes us authentically Bahamian, whether it's what we eat, our music, our expression, what we believe. That's what culture is to me. Our dance, of course, drama.
Since the start of female actors here in the Bahamas, there has been many who have confidently dominated the stage with their compelling storytelling skills. Miss Claudette Cookie Allens.
Hang out with you today. Uncle Bookie gone, slunking down the road because he was dead vexed. So he see Frog. He say, but Frog, you ever hear anything like this? Me and Robbie is good friends, and he tell me he want to hang out with me today. So Frog croaked his way on and said, that's good for you. Go on. So anyhow, he say, now what I can do? And he keep walking up and down the road, So all of a sudden he come to this bushy area, and he hear this voice saying, get me out of here! Get me out of here! He stop, and he look, he ain't see nothing, and he start walking again, and he hear the voice again, get me out of here! So he walked toward where the voice was coming from. Then he look, it was one well.
Vivica Watkins. Kayla Lockhart Edwards.
This evening we have a very special treat for our audience as we take an in-depth look into the archives of the Bahamas. I'm Kayla Edwards of the Ministry of Youth and Culture. Please stay tuned because the Mirror is going to take a very exciting look at how we preserve our history.
And Patricia Bazard.
Once upon a time was a very old time. The monkey chewed tobacco and he spit white lime. It was in my time, it was in your time, it was all story time.
Those proud Bahamian women have paved the way for Miss Lynn Therese Davis Nixon, who is one of the most known female actors in the Bahamas right now. She is known for her character, Miss Dynamite Daisy, who she says was one character of many comedic characters she was trying to develop.
So in 2000, I graduated from Morgan State University. And on leaving college, I wanted to know, what am I going to do with this degree coming home? I really wanted to stay in the United States. So Daisy was just one of 6 characters that I played for my one-woman show. Now, how Miss Daisy came about, while I was in college, I had a particular class on building believable characters. And I happened to be watching television one afternoon and saw this man pretending to be intoxicated. He was doing a lot of swaying with his body, but for me, he wasn't believable in his speech. He was slurring, but not believably like someone who was intoxicated. So I just continued, or I started saying to myself, if I ever have to play a drunk character, how would I talk? And so I began practicing using or taking my voice and throwing it further back and bringing it high and low like a Miss Daisy, doing the hiccup and the pausing. And that's how the voice started. And then when I got home after graduating from college and having to put on this one woman show, I needed a down home character. And so I said, you know what, I can do this voice. And so I said, let me use this voice, let me put a wig on, let me make her look a little eccentric. And that's how Miss Daisy was born.
From that time, Miss Dynamite Daisy has developed much more as a character and has been integrated into Bahamian culture forever.
First of all, I want to say thank you. I give God the praise and all the glory first, because she was never something that I had in my mind. I studied theater and I wanted to be a very serious, dramatic actress. I never thought I would get into comedy. But like I said, she was just one of 6 characters. So I give God praise first, because I believe she is a tool to reach persons, because she is not intimidating. Okay? She's not the most beautiful looking character. She says things sometimes awkwardly. And so comedy also helps people to break down barriers and kind of relax. And so I've seen her develop from being, just a one character in a short skit to now having her own full-length productions. We just recently did one called Daisy Hits the Jackpot. And that's our Road to 50 brand new play for this 50th year. And so I've seen her develop, and I've seen also the Bahamian people welcome her. I think what happened is Daisy is identifiable. Okay, we all have somebody in either our family or our neighborhood, or maybe some character even on TV that we've seen, but more or less a real person that we can identify with, to say, I've got someone who's not all there, but we still love them. They speak the truth, they're still loving, but they have a little problem. And so she has grown into the hearts of so many people, and for that I am grateful.
Daisy Hits the Jackpot captured the crowd with boatloads of comedic relief, 3 original songs made by one of the female cast members, and a large percentage of female actors. Women provide the lifeblood of theater. Even before women were allowed on stage, men dressed as women to fulfill that void. Women belong on stage.
So Sidney Poitier, he started the ball rolling for us, and he showed us what can happen as being the first Black man to win an Oscar. And I think that there are women in this country who have that ability to follow in his footsteps. You have to hear the voices of all, females and males, because we represent the mothers, the daughters, the wives, and then the single women. We represent entrepreneurs, we represent career-minded women, we represent. And so just like how you have male representation, you have to have female representation. The little girls coming up need to be able to hear the stories, and who better to tell our stories than us? We have to tell the stories of the women, just like how men have to tell the stories of men, great men, and the struggles that men go through, And women also have to tell the struggles and triumphs that women go through. So it is critically important that we have young ladies come up who want to do this and are given the encouragement to do it, and also the platform on which to stand.
There are also women who thrive in the backstage of it all: sound, directing, helping, etc. Acting can sometimes be just a stop in the journey towards your niche.
I have been volunteering at the Dundas Center for the Performing Arts through Shakespeare in Paradise and Ring Play Productions for about 14 years now. I started out auditioning for Shakespeare in Paradise's Horn of Plenty, and acting has never been really my thing. So when I showed up at the auditions for Dr. Keith Wisdom, I stood in front of him, and instead of auditioning, I said, I don't really want to do stage. I would prefer to work backstage because I'm more passionate about the process of putting it together.
Our very own director of culture in the country is a writer. Miss Nicolette Bethel's story is a bit different. She started out with a family that was all about culture, and a father, the legend E. Clement Bethel, who helped to make sure culture was at the forefront of their lives.
Yes. Well, first of all, my father was the first director of culture for the Bahamas. And so I grew up in a house where culture was around us all the time. He was a classical pianist. That was his training. He was a music teacher. He was a choral director. And he was, as I said, the first Chief Cultural Affairs Officer, which was the equivalent of the Director of Culture for the Bahamas. And that was later turned into the Director of Culture. He was in charge of things like the Independence, the 1973 Independence Cultural Extravaganza, for example. He also wrote folk opera, which started life as a ballet, The Legend of Sally Swain. He was always composing, always arranging, always playing piano. So it was always around me, but he was also not just a musician. That was his primary outlet. But he was also a visual artist. He was a painter. He was a writer. He was, he wanted to be, let's put it this way. He was a very good social dancer, and he pretended like he was trained in ballet, which he was not. He just loved all of the arts, and he was also the first Bahamian researcher in the field of Junkanoo. So he was the first person who looked at Junkanoo as a valuable, valid art and music form. And he did his master's thesis, not just on Junkanoo, but on Bahamian music as a whole. So that was where I got my start. And so it was always interesting to me. And it wasn't really something I thought about. And at the same time, also at the time I was growing up, all high schools used to do musical performances. Like, when I say musical performances, I mean they would put on musicals. So they would do, every high school would do a musical every year. And so in high school, I started to get involved in the musicals that our school was doing. So I performed in 1, 2, 3, 3 of them, 3. Guys and Dolls, Oklahoma Guys and Dolls, Fiddler on the Roof, 3. So I got an experience of being on stage, and people used to take us to stage productions. And so I really felt an affinity with that. I always wanted to be a writer. That was I felt was my calling.
Her inspiration for becoming a writer? A Kenyan writer named Ngui wa Thiong'o, who decolonized himself by changing his birth name from James to what he is called today. He is dubbed as East Africa's leading novelist.
There's one problem right now in African literature, and that this literature is written largely in European languages, So even those writers of our generation, we wrote in English, French, or Portuguese, okay? And that trend continues the present. So the struggle that there is now also is a struggle for where African writing in African languages is trying to assert itself.
Oh, I've only written 4 things that I call plays. But I've written a lot of various kinds of scripts. I've done more than 10 scripts of various kinds. But when you ask me about a play, I'm thinking me creating the story, the conflict, the characters, and all of that. Other things are adaptations. Other things are me writing the script when other people have, so collaborative works where other people provide me with the story and I write the scripts. I've done a lot of that. So I'd say, 15 to 20 overall, but 4 things that I consider full-length plays, and then maybe 3 or 4 shorter plays.
The development, writing, directing, and putting together these performances for the public does not come without some challenges. Some of these challenges are specific to islands in the Caribbean.
I think every artist would love the opportunity to just continue full-time in the craft. But there's only so many people in Nassau, you know what I mean? If I was in the United States, you can tour a lot easier. You pack up everything and go on a road tour. But with us, we have to fly out of Nassau into other places, and it becomes economically costly. So that's one challenge. The next challenge is, I would say, just being able to again fund, even locally, positive vibes like this. Sometimes, unfortunately, and I'll just be honest, you could get more sponsorship for things that are maybe that come from outside of the country instead of inside the country. So that's sometimes our challenge. We must learn to enjoy ourselves and believe in ourselves and put our support behind our local artists.
The traditional people who invest in the arts and the performing arts are investing in different things. Like Junkanoo takes up a lot of that revenue, a lot of that money. A lot of companies just channel it to Junkanoo and they ignore all the other stuff. And then film attracts investors. Theater is not, we don't have the ability to pay investors back at this point in time. So we don't have investors. So we would have to rely on what in other countries is readily available, but which is not available here, on public funds or private granting agencies to be able to pay actors, directors, producers, and so on. So so I hesitate to call it an industry. It is an industry. It is an industry globally, but nobody really gets paid here. And that's really what we're trying to do. That is my vision and my goal, is to turn what we are doing on a regular basis. We perform regularly, but people don't get paid. People get paid in kind. They get paid in personal growth. They get paid in applause. They get paid in food. We feed our guests. But I can't call it an industry because of that.
Despite that, theater lives on, and the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture is training the next group of actors and performers for the stage with the E. Clement Bethel National Arts Festival, and most of the participants are women and girls.
So the E. Clement Bethel National Arts Festival is a festival that was created to give platforms to performing and visual arts students. Not only students, it was extended to the community as well. So this is the only festival in the Bahamas that allows a platform for anybody and everybody. You don't have to be a track star. You don't have to be able to, the only thing is this festival meets you where your talent is. whether that is singing, whether that is dancing, whether it's arts and craft, and that's jewelry making, pottery making, sewing, driftwood, painting, sketching, drawing, the different genres of music, whether it be country, jazz, classical music, Bahamian folk music. So it meets you basically where you are. Dance, same thing. We have strings. I'm saying violin, strings. We have keyboards. We have orchestra. We have woodwinds. We have brass. We have all of that. Even recorder. So it meets you wherever you are. And so in a nutshell, that is what this festival is. The festival literally creates platforms for everybody to be heard and seen, or for their talents to be displayed. Females, for some reason, tend to step forward more than the males do, especially in our society. I don't know why, but they do. So the statistics of females, and I don't have exact statistics for this festival, but it's pretty much, I'd say 65 to 35. 65 in favor of females, 35% in favor of males. You'll find that the choirs are usually very heavy female. And as they get older, for some reason, the females tend to take over. When they're younger, little boys, they're not as conscious of being male or female when they're younger. Their teachers say do this, they do it. Their teachers say this, they say it. They are not afraid to dance. They're not afraid of who they are, being identified as male or female or soft, or in our culture, if you sing, you're a sissy, or if you dance, you're a sissy, that kind of stuff. And so we find that the little boys, they're more involved as they're younger, playing the drums and the involved in junkanoo and the dance ensembles and whatnot. But as they get to junior high, and of course puberty sets in and they start to identify who they are, then the girls tend to take over, and you find that there are more girls that are in the performing arts than the boys.
It is distinctively clear that women have and are dominating the stage through theater, dance, singing, folklore, and all aspects of performance. Now, as for newbie actor Joanna Carey, she says that acting has been one of the best decisions she has made since the start of her short career. She goes on to explain her inspiration and her advice to any other young people interested in doing exactly what she does.
And how long have you been acting?
Since 2021.
Okay, and what got you into acting?
Honestly, it pains me to say it, but Tyler Perry. I mean, I know. I mean, he has good things. The play that really got me into acting was his play, Diary of a Mad Black Woman. And I was like, wow, that's really good. I wanna do that. I started acting in 2021. It was Shakespeare in Paradise, a play called Love's Labor's Laws. Very confusing. Edit that out. Don't tell them I say that. Don't show them that I said that. But yeah, so it was quite a good experience. I got to meet a lot of good and fun people, and they're really good. They're really nice and sweet. Yeah, it was a fun experience for me.
Okay, and are you acting in the Vicious Circle and Father's Day?
I acted in Father's Day, yes, but not Vicious Circle.
Okay, and how was that?
That was good. It was great. I mean, it was out of my comfort zone because my character, Young Sweetheart, she's a sassy, manipulative girl who is dating this older man, and she just wants him for his money. And that ain't really me. I mean, I'm not one to be sassy or all that jazz, but hey, that's showbiz. Hey, if you really wanna act, go for it. If you know that's what you really want to do, and even if you like it, if it ain't your calling, but you know you like doing it, go for it. Don't let anything stop you. Don't let anyone say otherwise. Yes, acting, the entertainment industry is toxic, but what industry ain't? Every single industry is toxic. The business industry, almost everything. So do what you like, do what you love. Yeah.
Having representation is everything, because as a female, as a woman director, having women actors on stage, it really shows how important equity and equality is. The opportunities are there for us, we take advantage of it, and we knock it out of the park. So the same respect we give to our male actors, our female actors get, and they do an awesome job, sometimes way better than the men.